Have you ever stopped to think about the times that God has gone before and made straight the crooked ways that could be ahead of you on your path? That idea, of course, comes from the Bible in the book of Isaiah in chapter 45. And it's a wonderful way to look at our blessings and to recognize the infinite grace that we live in at all times, that we are surrounded by at all times. You may hear it sometimes in prayer, where it's an affirmation that God's got this. God's ahead of this already, whatever this challenge may be. We know the Spirit goes ahead and makes straight the crooked ways. That makes our path easier, blessed, grace-filled. I think it is a great way to stop and to recognize our many blessings and that we do live in grace. We've been talking about that all year, haven't we? Amazing grace and living in amazing grace and what that means. And today my talk is too blessed to be stressed. Doggone it. We are too blessed to be stressed. And of course, heading into Thanksgiving week, and that can be stressful sometimes, depending on if you've got friends or family coming or going, or you're cooking or they're cooking, or you're trying to get someplace or travel or whatever's trying to happen. It can be a little stressful. And we're working still through our book, The Peace Project, and talking about thankfulness, kindness, and mercy, and experiencing flashes of wonder as we practice that. And of course, that's our theme this month. This week, I had the opportunity to do a lot of running around that I usually am not doing. I'm a little more typically housebound on my days off, but this week I had to go out and finish making some color selections, some product selections for the remodel, because it's getting really, really close. Yay! But I had to go do that. And I was in parts of town that I don't frequent a lot. I was way over on the west side, and I was down in the South Phoenix area, the warehouses and things, and I just don't frequent those areas a lot, so I needed my GPS. And that always presents its own set of challenges because, I'm driving in an unfamiliar part of town and I'm trying to listen, but I'm more visual than auditory. So I'm trying to sneak a look at the map and make sure of where I'm going. And then there's traffic, right? And then there's those big giant garbage trucks that are in the way, and lane changes and construction and it just goes on, right? So I'm over in these strange places, and I don't know if you've been out much lately, but is traffic nuts? Is there a lot of it?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of it is out there, and a lot of drivers are misbehaving. I don't know if you've noticed. Yeah, they are. So there were lots of opportunities for me to be stressed as I'm running around and doing these things. Now, there were delays in construction zones and backups and accidents, and there were crowds at the places that I went, and there were supply shortages. I had picked online what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. That won't be available until maybe December. Do I want to be under construction until December? No. So I had to make alternatives. Shift on the fly, in the field, as they say. Field command decisions. Challenges, setbacks, frustrations happening to me in the moment. You ever felt that way? Why is it always happening to me? Yeah. But I made it, safe and sound. All selections made, credit card maxed, delivery date scheduled, good to go. And it's going to be beautiful. God's grace, a blessing. Now, because I was delayed with my appointments and things, and I happened to be at 21st Avenue when I was supposed to be in DC Ranch here in Scottsdale, I notified my folks and I said, look, I'm going to be late for our appointment. I'm supposed to be there. I'm about 15 minutes late. Okay. So as I get in the car, I felt kind of at peace because I had let them know I was going to be late. I wasn't going to be stressed. and I wasn't going to have to exceed the speed limit or be reckless or any of that stuff. And when I got to my destination, I noticed that I had text saying, I'm running late too. I'm going to be a little bit late. I'm on my way. And so it all unfolded perfectly. By the time that I got there were still folks that hadn't arrived and others that had just arrived. And all I had missed was some preamble conversation. I had missed the event. God's grace, a blessing. It all worked out perfectly, right? It all worked out perfectly. So where are you experiencing God's grace as unrecognized blessings in your life? I could have bounced right over all that stuff, right? And not paused to notice the grace that surrounded me. I remained safe, no accidents, nobody got hurt, I didn't get lost, right? It could have been something totally different, and it wasn't. And I paused and recognized the grace of that experience. It's easy to overlook those blessings in our day-to-day grind and to take them for granted if we don't pause and reflect on them. Some of you know that as a gratitude practice, and it can be simply acknowledging our blessings. And we talk about those here on Sundays, and it's always heartwarming to hear what everyone's grateful for, what the experiences of your week have been. And I appreciate you sharing those with us, sharing your joy. It's pausing to recognize the grace, to recognize the blessings, from the smallest to the very biggest, that allows us to keep experiencing the good of God. Now, not that God is going to withhold His good, right? That's impossible because God just always gives. That's all God can do. But it's about us. It's about us because we can certainly block that good through our choices and our actions. We can block it. We can make different choices. Choice not to experience it. In the philosophy that we teach here at Science of Mind, we talk about something called the law of reflection. You heard about the law of reflection? Life is a mirror reflecting back to us. It basically means that life reflects back to us the images of our thinking as the conditions of our future experience. If we pause and notice our blessings, we're depositing those images in our mind. We're reinforcing the good. And as the law of reflection says, those images of our thinking are then reflected back in our condition. So more to be grateful for, more blessings in our life, right? So we deposit those images. The opposite is also true, isn't it? Because the law simply agrees with us. So what is it, the images is it that you're depositing in your mind? What images are you depositing in your mind? Is it good? Is it acknowledging the good that you're experiencing, the smallest to the largest? Or is it things like anger and frustration and impatience and fear? What is the thought pattern that continues to come back? What are we noticing? What are we paying attention to? I love Daniel's share about being gracious to others, because that's now what's coming back to him. He is an example, and we didn't set this up. This is just how it works. We didn't set this up, but this is an example of the law of reflection. His behavior is being reflected back to him. We're a choice. And when I get wound up about things, that's what I'm realizing. It's like, I'm the one that's wound up. I'm the one that's creating the challenge, right? What do I want to experience? I love Penny's this year. I've made a commitment to happiness and joy. And gee, she's been experiencing happiness and joy.
Yay.
Yay, Penny. Great examples. I don't have much to do up here. You guys are doing it all. Thank you. More sharing. More sharing. So the images that we deposit in our mind are very important for tomorrow, right? What we think about today comes about tomorrow, so to speak. Some of those cliches that we hear. In my running around, did I get stressed in the moment? Yes, I'm human. I got stressed in the moment. I also have tools to help me through that. I kept reminding myself of my little mantra. The universe is for me. I live in God's grace. All is well and unfolding for my good. That could be our closing affirmation. Say it with me. The universe is for me. I live in God's grace. All is well and unfolding for my good. Yes, so it is. Feel free to take that. There's a story in our book, our Peace Project book, that I want to share with us about how the author found the blessings, found the grace in a somewhat terrifying situation that happened in her life. Her teenage son had gone on a ski trip in Colorado. They live in Dallas, and he had gone with a youth group up to Colorado for skiing. And she received a call from the director, saw his number pop up, and she thought, oh, what form did I forget to sign this time, right? And there's all those papers to sign. What did I forget to sign? And then her mom intuition kicked in, and she thought, maybe something's going, well, hello, what's happening? And he said, Kay, your son's been in an accident, but he's doing better. May I put on the ski patrol? She's like, yeah, of course. Before her mind could race off, the ski patrol said, we've managed to calm your son. He's breathing now. And we need your permission to work on him. Oh my gosh, can you imagine being her in that moment? He's breathing now, he wasn't breathing? Well, it turns out that he had a bad fall, feet overhead, on a snowboard. And there was a doctor that was traveling with this group, and he now got on the phone, and he talked to her, and he said, your son has a contusion of the frontal lobe, as well as compression and burst fractures in a couple of vertebrae. But it appears the spinal cord is unaffected. Imagine you're in Dallas, and your child is in Colorado on the top of a mountain someplace, probably by now on a ski thing to get skied down the mountain. And you're panicked. How do I get to my child? Right? Where are the blessings in this? Where are the blessings in this? What are some of the ways that God went before this seemingly terrifying event to make the road a little straighter for them? According to the author, she had 3 things. She said the first one is that 3 hours before the accident, they had rescheduled his return flight home to be earlier so that he could attend the wedding of a cousin with the whole family. 3 hours before the accident, he had a ticket to come home, not knowing he would need to do so for a medical situation. When the son decided to break away from the group, they were on some steep slopes, and he said, I'm going to go over to that flatter area over there and practice my snowboarding a little bit more. And with the director, he said, I'll go with you. I don't want you to be by yourself. I'll go with you. So he had someone with him that he knew when the accident happened. Imagine had he not, being over there by himself. And then everything necessary fell into place. The flights, both for mom and for son's return, the doctors, the scans, the nurses, a custom back brace that should have taken days took hours. All seamless support for a terrified young man and his family. One particularly sweet and grace-filled thing that happened is Nurse Kelly. Nurse Kelly noticed that the young man didn't have any shoes because all of his things had been left on the mountain where he was staying, because they airlifted him from the base of the mountain to Denver because he was critical. So they had no shoes. And Nurse Kelly went through the hospital and found a pair of shoes for the young man to wear home so that he didn't have to travel barefooted.
Wow.
Yeah. And everyone made it home and everyone went to the wedding. Now, I'm sure this blessing list did not occur on her flight to Denver or her flight home, probably not even until sometime after the wedding when she saw that her son was truly okay. Because when things like this happen, we're governed by our emotions, aren't we? We're governed by our emotions. We get that shot of adrenaline pouring through our bodies, and we are emotional, and we're likely reacting to what the situations are. But as soon as possible, as soon as we possibly can, find that faith again. Find that faith again and tap into where are the blessings in this. It could have been so much worse. We are blessed that we were able to get him home. We're blessed that we were able to get him to Denver. We were blessed that it wasn't more severe. We're blessed with all of the skilled professionals that were there. But to find those blessings, to find that grace that we live in, and to speak it, to call it out, to speak it, to deposit it into, to put that image into our minds, right? To build that neural pathway. We're building trust and faith in the divine grace. We've talked about this year, that grace is the givingness of God that is always constantly giving to us, and it's up to us to receive, but we get caught up in, I don't know if I can trust that. I better do this myself. I better take care of that. I better make those arrangements. I better. No, I'm not better. God's better, right? And that's faith in the trust, to trust in the divine order, flow, process, creativity, spirit, source, all of that. And building our faith is through acknowledging those blessings, looking for the good and praising it, and building that trust, building that faith up so that the next time something happens, and it will, because things happen all day, every day, right? Big or small, that we have our faith already in place, knowing God's got this. The universe is forming, all is well, and unfolding exactly as it should. Our blessings are the result of our experience of grace, the receipt of something mystical, something sacred, when we pause and recognize it. It's a recognition of the eternal givingness of God. But again, we must build our faith to know, to the point of knowing that that's how life works. That's how my life works. I expect it, I know it, I claim it. Spirit is forever revealing itself through us and out picturing through our lives. And we get to choose the size and the subject matter and the colors of that life, of what we will produce. Spirit provides the canvas and the inspiration, the ideas. And of course, then the law fixes out the final product. We are forever creating with Spirit, with each other, and with our community at large. Because we're interdependent, aren't we? We need each other. That's how this thing called life works. We being hands and feet of God, we work with and for each other as Spirit moves through each of us. So let us look at our practicing the principles and see how we might just practice focusing on counting our blessings and living in grace. If you would like to receive a Mindful Monday email, it's a summary of today's talk. It is the quotes and notes. It's the details of these spiritual practices. It comes out on Monday morning. It's an email that I send out. If you'd like to join that list, you can do so through the QR code or sign up in the lobby. Send me an email, and I'll get you included on that distribution list for those. Number one practice this week is to look back. Look back, kind of like Kay did, after the fact and the event of her son's fall. Look back. Take a few minutes to look back over your life for the blessings. When we pause in silent reflection, it's easy to look at past and see how God's grace is always actively involved in our lives. It's easier to look back because we're calm, the adrenaline's gone, we know things have all worked out. So where are the blessings in that? And then record those. Number 2 is the blessing jar. We've talked about these before, but if you don't have one, create a blessing jar or blocks and dedicate it to holding your daily blessings. And every day, write down at least one way in which you've been blessed through God's grace, either directly or indirectly through the actions of another person. What is the blessing today? And put that in your jar. And then on New Year's Eve, something to do on New Year's Eve, open them up and go through them. If it's a process that you like and enjoy, start a brand new one on January 1st for all of 2023, counting in your blessings every single day. Imagine how those are going to multiply and expand. Yeah. Then number 3, be someone's blessing. Set an intention to be someone's blessing. Go the extra mile. Find those shoes that somebody needs, like Nurse Kelly did. Show someone a special kindness. Be thoughtful or practice mercy by showing kindness instead of harm when you have the power to do either. Remember, that's the definition of mercy. Showing kindness when we have the power to be kind or to do harm. Look for ways this week to be someone's blessing. I want to close us out this morning with a quote from our founder, Ernest Holmes, who reminds us that most people try to do about the best they can. When we are able to reach out beyond the indifference and the coldness of life, reach through all intolerance and unkindness, only then do we meet that divine center, which is forever established within every person. This week, let's reach out and touch that divine center in everyone that we meet. And so it is.
So it is.
And it is your turn. What would you like to talk about grace and blessings today? What are your questions, thoughts? Oops. Face plant.
It's a blessing it is.
Yes, it is. Round of the grace. There you go. Thank you.
Grace.
So I live in Prescott, and I live up on a mountain. So there's a two-lane road that goes on up to the mountain, and I travel that every day. And one day I was in Prescott, and I was ready to go back to my home on the mountain. And I just got this, you really need to go to the Circle K in Prescott Valley and get a cup of coffee first. And I'm having this conversation in my head. No, I want to get home. No, you really need to go to the But I want, so I went, fine. Well, I was going to go to the one right there. No, you need to go to the one that's down Highway 69, that one. I swear to you, there was this conversation. This is way closer. No, you should go to that one. Well, I learned a long time ago to listen to your intuition, or whatever that is. So I did that. And then I got stuck behind someone who was, and which was nice. They were having a good time, and I was in line going, okay, I have to get up and out before it gets dark. So I finally got my coffee. I got to on that road, and I was stopped. There had been a head-on collision, and there were 4 fatalities.
Oh.
3, as it turns out, at milepost 133, a woman was getting something from her and went over the line, and it was a head-on collision. So I had to stay at I couldn't get up on the mountain, so I stayed at my sister. And I got out I looked at my phone to figure, where would I have been? Because I take that trip every time, and I know how long it takes. I would have been at milepost 133, had I not decided to wait, I've been told to wait,
Wow.
she would have come into my lane, because she's coming this way and I went that way.
Wow.
That's great.
That's great.
Wow.
Good to listen.
Glad you stopped for coffee.
I'm glad I answered.
Thank you. Linda, you reminded me of a time where I was walking up behind someone, like I was in a real hurry and I was gonna pass them. And as I would pass them, of course, I would acknowledge their presence. And I knew what I was gonna say. And as I walked and then I opened my mouth, something totally different came out of my mouth from what I knew I was going to say. Well, that opened a dialogue, and then found out that I could be a blessing to that person because of something that was going on in their life. And it was so weird, but we can be a blessing when we can be a blessing.
Yes, we can. Thank you. Yes. We never know when we're someone else's angel, do we? When we're someone else's blessing. And listening to intuition, taking those actions, moving forward, being in God's grace. Being God's grace.
This is a long time ago that I didn't marry somebody, even though all the wedding invitations were out. I knew I wasn't, so I listened to my intuition. Thank you.
Thank you, God, for unanswered prayers.
First time I heard that.
Anyone else? What questions do you have about grace or blessings? "11 months and now you got it? Good. Good. All right. We're going to end early today, I guess, huh? All right. Very good. Thank you all for sharing. I appreciate hearing your stories, your wisdom, and your grace. And so, let's move into prayer this morning, and invite you to join me now for an affirmative prayer. Oh, just breathing in, allowing ourselves to relax in our chairs, bringing our awareness fully present. We recognize that God is all. It is the infinite power and presence that is in, through, and as all that exists. It is the creator, the creation, and the created. It is that which loves so much that it creates of itself. It is the eternal givingness of grace to all of its creation. All that is created comes forward with all that is necessary for its full expression and manifestation. We know that God is love and joy and peace and harmony. And we know that all of that is here now, present right now in this room. Not a little bit of it, but all of it. For wherever we are, all of the presence of God is right there within us, in, through, and as us, as individualized and unique expressions of it. We are one in the divine. We are one in each other. We are unified in this wholeness, in this perfection, this thing called life. And as I know this unity with that which is so much greater than I speak my word for and about each of us, knowing, claiming, and accepting in this day the absolute grace in which we each live, knowing that our hearts and our minds are open and receptive to that, and that we speak our gratitude around those blessings that we receive each and every day, for we do receive blessings every day, large and small. I know that we are each blessed as we move into this holiday weekend, this holiday week of Thanksgiving, of joy, of celebration, of expressing thankfulness and gratitude for that which life has given us this year, our friends, our family, our prosperity, our joy, our health, our wholeness, this community, each other, our love, our families. I know this day for anyone that has anything on their heart as they lift it into this moment of prayer, into the consciousness that this community is so powerfully created here today, that whatever needs to be healed is healed, revealed is revealed with clarity, that there is love abounding, and joy and peace and prosperity flows. It is with a grateful heart filled with thanksgiving and gratitude and joy and love that I release this prayer into the action of law, knowing that it is done. It is already done in the mind of God. It is whole, perfect, and complete in that manifestation. I release it now, I let it be, and we affirm together.
And so it is.